Okay, hello, first graders. So glad to be back with you today. We're just returning from break. I've missed being with you and spending time on our math together. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it today. We are looking at lesson 5-1 for this lesson. They're going to be asking us to find the unknown numbers, and we're going to locate that on page 299 in our math books. So if you need time to take out your math books, you can go ahead and do that now. And then the other thing that I kind of want to give you a heads up on is that in today's lesson, one thing that is going to be helpful if you would like to use these tools is from your toolkit, your 10 frames, you have that, and your counters. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and get out those materials as well, those can be very helpful with today's lesson also. Okay, so I have my 10 frame and my counters, and I'm going to go ahead and share my workspace with you now. Here you can see we are on lesson 5-1. We're on page 299 of our books. And in that workspace, you will see Carlos with the problem that he's going to be sharing here. And there's a purple workspace here. Let me go ahead and find that page. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read, and you can follow along in your book. It says, find the missing number in this equation. 7 plus something equals 13. Explain how you found the missing number. Okay, so there are several different strategies that we could use to solve this problem. I'm going to go ahead and start by showing a 10 frame, and then we can look at an additional one to help us check our answers. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay out my 10 frame here. Look at my counters, and I know that I'm solving for 7 plus something to equal 13. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin by laying out 7 counters, and I'm going to put them with the red side showing up. So I'm going to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now if you also have your materials out, go ahead and check and make sure that you have the whole first row filled up. And that tells us that there's 5, 6, 7. So 2 additional ones besides that. Okay, so now I've represented the first number in my equation. 7 plus something equals 13. So what I know now is that although I don't know exactly how many I'm going to have to add, I do know that by the end, I'm going to need to have a total of 13, right? So now, in order to solve, I'm going to go ahead and continue counting until I get to 13. And then at 13, I'm going to stop. Now, I know that my 10 frame is only going to be able to hold 10 counters. Once that's filled up, I'm going to go ahead and continue down below. I'm just going to make sure that those counters are all lined up in those columns. Okay? All right, so I'm starting with 7, and I'm going to continue this time with the yellow side up. So here we go. After 7, we're going to count on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, I'm going to stop there because I know I have 13 as the sum of my equation. So now what I need to do is count how many yellow counters that I needed to add. So I see I have 3 here, right? 1, 2, 3, and 3 here. 4, 5, 6. So altogether, I had to add 6 yellow counters in order to get a total sum of 13. All right, so go ahead and set that to the side. 7 plus 6 equals 13. All right, now for those of you who maybe you are at grandma's house or aunt's or uncle's house and you don't have your materials with you right now, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use my workspace here, And I'm just going to record what we did with our manipulatives. Now, first graders, you have become very adept at drawing those 10 frames. So just quick review, we draw that large rectangle, we cut it in half, and then we're going to put 4 lines going down to make our boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll give me 5 on top and 5 below, which gives me a 10 frame. Okay, so again, let me come back and show you what we had here. We began by making 7 red counters. Okay, now I'm not going to take out my red crayon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave those first counters open. So I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then what I needed to do next is figure out how many more I needed to get to a total of 13, right? And I ended up needing 6 additional ones. I counted on. Now for my next set, I'm going to go ahead and close those counters so I can tell the difference between the 2 add-ins. Okay, so from 7, I'm going to count on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'm going to stop there because I just got to my sum. Okay, so once again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more that I added. So 7 plus 6 equals 13. Okay, now I promised I would show you one more way that we could have solved to help us to check what we just did. Okay, so another great strategy to use when you're solving for a missing add-in are those parts to whole charts. So I'm going to go ahead and draw parts to whole here. Cut that in half, and the whole will be here at the top. So I know there were 7 that I had, and then I didn't know how many I needed to add, but I knew that at the end my sum was 13. Okay, 7 plus something equals 13. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and count on from 7 in this next box. Okay, and as I go, I'm just going to go ahead and draw my counters. So I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to stop there because I got to the whole of 13. How many did I need to add? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 7 plus 6 equals 13. So it's 2 different ways of solving, and I was able to use my second strategy to check what I did in my first strategy. All right, and for both of them, I found that 6 was that missing number. Okay, if you needed more time with this, you can go ahead and pause the video. Sorry, I didn't mean to get ahead of myself. I'm going to go ahead now and turn the page. And we're going to look at some more examples that Carlos has for us at the top in those green boxes. The first box says, look at this problem. 12 minus something equals 3. Okay, so Carlos says, this means that 12 take away some number is the same as 3. Okay, he says you can use counters to find the missing numbers. Okay, so he does it here in the book, and you can see he's lined it up like a 10 frame, right? He just didn't use the 10, he didn't use the actual frame itself. They took away that scaffold, and they're just showing the counters right now. And he laid out 12 counters. So he has 5 on top and 5 below. That gives him his 10, 11, 12. He has 12 counters. And he knows he has to take away counters. He doesn't know how many yet until he has 3 at the very end. Okay, so he started at the end, and we can do this together. We're going to count how many he had to take away to end up with 3. Okay, let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then here you can see he's left with 3. Okay, so 12 take away 9 gave him a difference of 3. Okay, let's go ahead And look at the last box. He says you can also use addition to find the missing number. Okay, so the first way he did it was one way to solve. Now here's another way. 12, we want to solve for 12, take away something equals 3. We can use a related fact, right? 3 plus something is going to equal 12. That's related. So if I want to use this strategy, I can still use a 10 frame. Let me show you how I'm going to lay out those counters. So I know 3 plus something equals 12. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 3. Start with 3 red ones there. And I need to have 12 altogether. So I'm going to count on with my yellow counters until I get to 12. Okay, you can do that with me. We're going to say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, how many yellow counters did I need to add to that 3 to get to 12? Let's count them. We have 2 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I needed to add 9 more counters in order to get 12 altogether. So 3 plus 9 equals 12, which is related to 12 take away 9 equals 3. Okay, so Carlos sums it up by saying 9 is the missing number. 9 makes the equation true. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and look at our guided practice together. It's asking us to write the missing numbers, then draw or cross out counters to show your work. Okay, so they've gone ahead and drawn in counters for us to begin. You can either use the workspace that they have to draw, or you can also use your manipulatives from your own toolkit. I'm going to model both as we go through our guided practice, okay? So number 1 is 14 minus 7. I'm sorry, 14 minus something equals 7. So they went ahead and drew out for us the 14 counters to begin with. So you can see we have 5 and 10. Here's our 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. They knew at the end they had to end up with 7 for the difference. So they started crossing out so that they only had 7 left. So let's see how many they had to cross out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so if I have 14 and I cross 7 out, that gives me 7 at the end, which is my difference. Okay, so 14 take away 7 equals 7. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. 4 plus something equals 12. Okay, now notice my operation has changed. In my first equation, it was subtraction. In my next equation, they're asking me to add. So I have to get add another add-in in order to make 12. So I'm starting with 4, and I'm going to go ahead and count on until I get to 12. Okay, so I have 4. You can count with me. 5. Remember, we want to keep it in a 10 frame. So once I get to 5, I'm going to come down here and keep going. So I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to stop there because I got to 12, right? So how many more did I need to add in order to get that sum? Let's count them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I needed 8 more to get to 12. So 4 plus 8 equals 12. Okay, now, so for some of us, drawing it in the book might be a little bit more challenging because the space is a little smaller and we don't have like these really nice manipulatives to be able to touch and move as we go. Okay, so that's why I am encouraging you, if you have your toolkit with you, wherever it is that you're working today, if you have it, I'm encouraging you to use those manipulatives, the 10 frame and the counters. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that would look like for problem number 2 right now. Okay, all right, let's look at it together. So my problem was 4 plus something equals 8. I'm sorry, 4 plus something equals 12, right? That was my original problem. So this is the way that I would use the manipulatives to solve. So I'm starting with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Started with my reds. And now I'm going to keep counting to 12, right? I'm going to keep counting. I'm going to stop when I get to 12. And I'm going to see how many more I needed to add to get there, okay? When I count on, I'm going to switch to yellow. So you can do this with me. Please count as I go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm going to stop now because I got to 12, and now I'm going to see how many more yellows I needed to add. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I had to add 8 yellows, and 4 plus 8 equals 12. Okay, all right, so there's 2 different ways that you could do it. You could draw it. You can see they even give you space here, okay, or you can use your manipulatives, okay. If we were in our regular classroom, we would all have our 10 frames and counters with us in front of us. But I know it's a little challenging for some of us because we travel to different places when we're doing our schoolwork. So if you don't have it with you, that's okay. You can draw it in, okay? Let's go ahead and do a couple more together because I just want to make sure that you understand before we go off. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 3. We're at the independent practice. The directions tell us to write the missing numbers, draw counters to show your work. Okay, so our first equation is something take away 9 equals 8. Okay, so I know that I'm going to be subtracting. I know that I'm going to be subtracting 9, and I'm going to have a difference of 8, but I don't know what I started with. Okay, so when I subtract, like Carlos suggested in the first part of this part, we can use a related fact. So let me go ahead and change this around. Instead of blank take away 9 equals 8, I'm going to write 8 plus 9 equals something. Okay, that's my related fact. See how all those numbers match up. All right, so I'm going to come back to my 10 frame now. And I'm doing 8 plus 9. I'm going to see what my sum is. So I have, I'm going to start with reds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, my first add in. And to that, I know I need to add 9. So now I'm going to switch over to my yellows. I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure they're still lining up. 8, 9. All right, how many do I have all together now? I have my 8 reds and I have my 9 yellows. So let's see. Oh, look, I was able to make a 10, wasn't I? So we can just start from 10 and count on from there. It's going to look and sound like this. 10, you can count with me, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's 17 altogether, okay? So let's go ahead then, move these to the side. If 8 plus 9 equals 17, that's going to help me with my original equation, right? I know this is a related fact, so 17 take away 9 equals 8. Okay, so do you see how that related fact helped me to solve for my original equation? All right, let's do one more together. Number 4. Okay. Blank equals 8 plus 3. Okay, so this time they're giving us the sum first at the beginning, and then it's telling us that it equals the same as 8 plus 3. We're not going to let that bother us, right? We know that the equal sign just means it's even on both sides. So if there's 8 plus 3 on one side, I'm going to have an equal amount on my other side. I just have to find out what that equal amount is. So I'm going to go ahead and get my 10 frame out, right? And I'm going to be solving for 8 plus 3 this time. So again, I'm going to start with my red counters. If you have your manipulatives, you can do this with me, or you can just follow along with your eyes. So I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 3, right? So now for my second add-in, I'm going to switch over to yellows. I'm going to put in 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now I'm going to count these up and see what my sum is. Now look, was I able to make a 10? I sure was, right? So I can just count on from there. 10, 11. 8 plus 3 gave me a sum of 11. So 11, going back to my original problem, equals or is the same as 8 plus 3. Okay? All right, now let's say that you don't have your manipulatives with you, right? You can always just draw it in the space that they provide for you, okay? Now, I know that in the examples, they didn't draw the 10 frames, they took that scaffold away, but if it's helpful to you to draw the 10 frame, you are more than welcome to go ahead and do that. Had a lot of practice with drawing those 10 frames, and you guys are getting really good at it. So what would that look like if I drew it out? I would draw 8 open counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I would add to that 3 closed counters. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And now I just add up. I see I'm able to make a 10, 11. It gives me 11. Okay. So either way, you can either use the manipulatives, or if you don't have your manipulatives handy, you can draw it in that space. But we're working with counters and 10 frames today to solve for unknown numbers in our equations, all right? Be real careful, guys, as you go through to make sure you are adding, whether you're adding or subtracting, because they're going back and forth. Some are adding or some subtracting. So just watch that as you go, okay? And I'm going to have you complete numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8, okay, for your independent work. All right, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and bring them to our Google Meets. It was great having you back, and I will see you very soon. Okay? All right, guys. Bye.